Hello guys, me Aswad. This video is a bit different because I feel a bit different making this video because this is not the usual video that I make, but I want to address the situation that's happening in a very very niche area of show business, which is the stand-up comedy world of Los Angeles. So it's very niche, not a topic that a lot of people would know, but I end up watching. I'm very close to the world because I'm a fan of Joe Rogan, and that's how I got to find out about the Los Angeles comedy scene. So recently, there is a very interesting situation between a comedian called Brandon Schaub and another comedian called Bobby Lee, and they are fighting publicly. And the reason they are fighting, I will explain, but I just want to give a background on the players, the characters. So, Brandon Schaub is a former MMA fighter, and Joe Rogan was his mentor. So Joe Rogan said he was not that talented in MMA, and Joe suggested that he goes into the comedy scene. And Joe Rogan, besides being the podcaster that a lot of people know, he's also very influential in the comedy world in Los Angeles. He's not as funniest as Dave Chappelle like that, but he's very influential. Because I think when he made the jump into podcast and got paid 50 million, he became a big guy. Everybody look up to him because everybody wants to emulate him. Okay, that's too much story about Joe. Enough for another blog. So, okay, so that's background for Brandon Schaub in terms of where he came from. And he has a quite popular podcast called The Fighter and the Kid. It has this another guy, Brian Cullen. Brian Cullen is a former actor, still an actor, I think. He's also a comedian. And then there's Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee is a Korean guy, Asian American, and he has his girlfriend named Kalela. Kalela is from Philippines. She's a former athlete. I think when she was young, she's a beautiful girl. That's why I said she's hot and beautiful. Okay, the root of the situation. Like years ago, Brandon Schaub tried to seduce Bobby Lee's girlfriend, and then it's like asking her to cheat on him with Brandon Schaub. She texted him, I think, during I think a public holiday. I think there was a holiday where he texts her, asks her if he wants to be her to meet up and hook up. Hook up means asks her to have an affair and cheats on Bobby, which he claims to be his friends, because Bobby Lee has been in the comedian world, LA comedy world, for a long time. So, and Brandon is just new. So that's the core root of this problem. He tried to hit on somebody's wife or girlfriend. And to be honest with you, this kind of thing, even though this is a problem in America. In America, they keep saying, oh, it doesn't matter, it's a long time ago. Among their conversation, it's a long time ago. You should forget about it, move on. In America, they can say that thing. But in real life, it's a very sensitive thing for any man in any world, in any culture. If you hit on somebody's wife and they found out, it is a very thing that they will very hard to forget. And And you know, Bobby Lee, even though he knows this thing happened, Bobby found out. Of course, Kalela will tell him. Kalela told him. And the good thing about this is how good the whole situation is. Kalela somehow calm Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee never took any action against Brandon Schaub for the 7 years that this thing happened in the past. It happened a long time ago, 7 years ago. Now, Brandon Schaub should be lucky that Bobby Lee didn't do anything to him. You know, in fact, Bobby Lee just let him go and let Brandon Schaub become successful. You know, some people will have a grudge, and everybody will have a grudge when you. This is the thing that I think the brand. Okay, I'm jumping. This is why I think Brandon Schaub doesn't get. You know, when you hit on somebody's wife or somebody's daughter or somebody's sister or whatever, you claim you know them. You know, most people will remember what you do, what you did. Just because they don't take any action doesn't mean that they are okay with it. They might not be a violent person, or they might just be for some reason or another doesn't want to cause problem in terms of they work in the same circle, and Kalela could have just calmed him down and whatnot. But Bobby Lee in the 7 years never brought up the issue. We also doesn't know about it until recently. I think this year, Kalela went on her podcast. She also has a podcast with 3 girls, and on that podcast, one of the girl podcaster revealed that Brandon Shaw tried to ask her to give him a blowjob when he helped her to get to her car or truck, I don't know. But he wanted a blowjob from one of the girl. So the girl said it on the podcast. And because the name, she did not mention the name, she just mentioned the initial, Brandon Shaw, BS. But also, Kalela, this is what the trigger. Kalela, in that podcast, mentioned, Bobby Lee, Brandon, that guy, they still didn't use the name. They said, this guy, BS, also hit on me, contacted me during a holiday, asking me to hook up with him, you know, and during that thing, they somehow hinted that it's Brandon Schaub, but even though, you know, they don't mention him word per word, but everybody on that podcast understood that it's Brandon Schaub. Okay, this is the background. Now, and Brandon Schaub got angry, got pissed off that, you know, Kalela, because Brandon Schaub has a wife. I think when he was hitting on her, he was already married, perhaps. But definitely Kalela was with Bobby Lee. So, and Brandon feel threatened and feel panicky. You know, all this time, Brandon doesn't want to be connected with scandals and whatnot, but now it's an open secret. And a lot of people, I think Whitney Cummings also mentioned that at one point, Brandon Schaub in his truck or her truck, I think she was driving. Yeah, she was driving. She looked besides at Brandon and saw he got his cock out. You know, so but Whitney Cummings is very kind of cool, and then people tend to forget that what she said, maybe they thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke. Brandon Schaub is a horn dog. Horn dog means horny guy or sex addict, I don't know. But he tried to hit on top comedians and their wives. So the one that came out recently was that the Kalela podcast. Okay. Now why? And okay, Brandon Schaub got panicked. When Brandon Schaub got panicked, he did a lot of crazy things. One, I don't know which come first. but he threatened Bobby Lee. Brandon Schaub called Bobby Lee and asked him to control Kalela, to shut her up. Things like that. Okay, that's a big no-no. He did two big no-nos, and we go in. He asked him. Brandon Schaub asked Bobby Lee to shut Kalela up. Like in a statement, like pull your woman, like threatening him. And Brandon Schaub, and and Brian Colin, this his podcast partner, really called Bobby Lee and threatened his life, threatened his well-being. Bobby Lee called it bullying, but it's basically threatening him, because Brandon Schaub even mentioned that he knows people who can do a lot of things. Threatening him over a statement with that Kalela did on that podcast of hers. And that caused Bobby Lee to get panic. Because somebody threatened him and his career and his whatever. It was a crazy call. I think Brian Cullen also, Bobby Lee completely do not want to be friend with Brian Cullen anymore, because Brian Cullen admitted that he was the one who threatened Bobby. He admitted on his blog, on The Fighter and the Kid, that he threatened Bobby Lee, and he admits it. It was crazy. So Bobby Lee completely does not want to be friend with him anymore. But on the same call that took place, Brandon Schaub was also on the call. They didn't mention it, but along the line that we found out that he was also on the call. So you threaten a guy. No, Bobby called it bullying, and this is the most funny thing, the most fuck up thing. Brandon and Brian has a friend called Mark. He's a muscle builder. He's a bodybuilder. But to defend to defend Brandon Schaub threatening Bobby Lee, Mark got into this circle and then defended on the use of the word bullying. He went on his own podcast, which is also the same company as Brandon Schaub podcast. Tick Boy, they call it Tick Boy. His company is called Tick Boy. And mentioned that Mark went on his podcast and opened up the discussion on bullying. What is the definition of bullying? And my God, man, his definition of bullying is the most absurd. I even commented on his blog that, dude, bullying is not, because Mark's point on his bullying definition is it has to be constant. It has to be all the time. I'm saying, dude, your definition is wrong. I mentioned it on his podcast. He replied, I mentioned bullying is not about, the definition of bullying is not about constantly attacking somebody physically and whatnot. Bullying means you are a bigger person, a stronger person, a powerful person, picking up on a smaller guy. Bobby Lee is physically small, and it's not macho. He's a beta. He's a beta type. Brandon is alpha. Brian Cullen is definitely alpha. He has admitted a few times that he like to get into fights. And then you got Mark, their friend. There are three of them are fighters and muscle. Brandon Schaub was an MMA. So, yes, I said to him, that is the definition of bullying. You guys are bigger physically. You guys have more influences together. And then Of course, they didn't mention it, but I know they brought up Rogan's name. Like I said in the beginning, Joe Rogan is huge. And in that circle, is a huge influential guy. And I know they brought up his name, Joe Rogan's name. And of course, Bobby Lee got panicked because you're threatening his life, his work. You know, the gateway to that, the way they earn the money is word of mouth. There's a lot of like gatekeepers, and one of the biggest gatekeepers is Joe Rogan. I'm not blaming Joe Rogan. I don't think Joe Rogan is involved at all with this fight. But Brandon Schaub brought up his name. Okay, so that's before we go to stage 2. Okay, that's a problem in stage 1. Stage 2, and it was revealed that Kalela and Brandon call up each other after all this kind of hassling, revealed they made peace. They made peace. When they made peace, okay, nothing, let's make peace, let's not talk about it. Whatever happened, let's not talk about it. But Brandon Schaub went into another podcast and then talk about it. It's a flagrant 2 podcast, if you're looking for it. And then talk about the situation with him and Kalela, which broke their agreement not to talk about it. So, and I don't blame Bobby Lee. I know this problem is between Kalela and Brandon Schaub actually, but he got Bobby Lee involved by threatening his life, his work. So what? Kalela is not a softie. Kalela is from the Philippines, man. If you know any Pinoy women, strong, they are strong and women, you know. Tough women. Not all you can say, but man, if you look at Kalela, if you find out about her career, about her life, she's been in the scene for a long time. She always defend Bobby Lee, and a lot of people doesn't get it. If you want to understand what I mean by that, if you look at their pictures, because Bobby Lee is a beta, he's a chubby guy, small guy, but Kalela is an Amazon. She's a former athlete. She looks tough, she's tall, and she's hot, she's beautiful. So a lot of people always like, what do you call that? Are always like questioning their relationship, even if it internally. And most guys, of course, and I don't blame Kalela, she's hot, so everybody get attracted to Kalela. But I think because a lot of people they respect Bobby Lee, and knowing that she's connected with him, they don't go to her. Okay, they don't try to hook up with her. I mean, regardless, you know, they have an open relationship or whatnot. That's between them. But in that situation, Kalela feel Brandon Schaub hitting on her, cheating on his wife during holiday, and then trying to hook up with his girlfriend, which is her, is a very insulting thing. So I think she has the right to bring it up. Of course, Brandon Schaub feels embarrassed and shame, so he tried to move this way, trying to threaten him. Okay. Now it goes back and forth. After flagrant, Kalela went to a podcast by H3, another podcast, and opened up everything. Opened up all this. What Brandon is such a bastard because trying to threaten Bobby Lee, because the focus at H3 was Brandon bullying Bobby Lee. So I think even if you look at the podcast, Bobby Lee wasn't comfortable talking about it. But I think the push for that was Kalela, and she has the right. I'm on Kalela's and Bobby's team here. She has the right. She's angry, and she's backing up Bobby Lee, her boyfriend. She knows Bobby is better. Bobby would would follow, would bow down to people threats. She wants him to stand up for himself. So when they were on the podcast Beef H3, he spoke up. Thankfully, Bobby Lee has the balls to talk about this issue, saying that bully happened. His word is bullying. It's not about constantly. It's bullying when powerful people like Brandon Schaub, Brian Collin, and Joe Rogan name pop up in his head. These are powerful people trying to shit on you. That's bullying. For me, it's bullying. You got powerful people like that. And then of course and Bobby Lee, if you people have been following him currently, he's having psychological problem. He's been seeing psychologists, he's been shrink, he's trying to get better, and Kalela is backing him up, trying to make him better. Regardless of whatever people say. I mean, Brandon Schaub has been creating all these rumors about Kalela. I'm saying, regardless of whatever the rumors are, Kalela is really a goal. It's really like a strong rock for Bobby Lee. Seriously, if you know Bobby Lee, I mean, he has a lot of problems, but Kalela really backs him up. So their relationship works for them, and that's good. I'm on Team Kalela, even though all this shit's happening. So when they went to H3 podcast, that everything came out. Bobby Lee mentioned all these guys' names. They threatened him. Then the next day, it has a progress. Okay, then on the Fighter and the Kid podcast, Brian Callen openly admitted that he's the guy who threatened Bobby's life. It's threatening. It's not bullying. He said things that he shouldn't be saying. He threatened them. So he admits that he was the guy. He shouldn't have said that. And then that's one podcast to bring out one issue. So the next day, Brandon Schaub, the next day, I don't know, the next thing in line, Brandon Schaub went on to Bobby Lee's podcast with Kalela's there and to talk about this matter. They discussed this matter. I think it was the most craziest podcast. And it doesn't dawn on Schaub. It doesn't dawn on Brandon Schaub because he doesn't see it. I don't think Bobby Lee see it. What I'm saying is Kalela remembers. Kalela remembers that Brandon Schaub hit on her and disrespected Bobby that way. And if anybody goes onto the podcast, everybody on that podcast, that Brandon Schaub spectacular podcast with Bobby Lee, you can, if you listen to it, you can tell Kalela has still not let go of the 7 years thing happened in the past. And she has every right to, because that is almost like, because the way Brandon Schaub has been operating, for him to ask people, showing his cock, asking people to give blowjob in the truck, asking other comedian, you don't know other wife that he's hitting on, and you hit on a powerful woman, that's a disrespect to her, and disrespect to Bobby. It's the disrespect, If you're a super hot model, a hot woman, and then somebody like thinking you're a big guy, you come up showing your cock to everybody and then trying to hit on you, that's very insulting. And she's a Pinoy, she's from Philippines. She's a higher level lady in her world. And Bobby Lee, people respect them whenever they go, because everybody, like I said, they are there for a long time, and Brandon is just a new guy. So during that podcast, I can tell that she's still angry at Brandon Schaub, and she brought up appropriately that she said, Brandon, the whole situation started because you are angry at that podcast that she did, the first time of this timeline, where she talked about him hitting on her. Now, that is correct. That is the point that I'm saying. She's on that podcast. She said, she revealed, even though she doesn't mention the name, she revealed Brandon hit on her, asking her to hook up, to cheat on Bobby. She's saying that it's about that point when she mentioned that in that podcast, and Brandon got shame, got panic, got angry because she revealed him as a motherfucker. That's what happened. Okay, so Kelela clearly pointing at that because she knows it's a shameful thing to be revealed as a playboy or trying to hit on Bobby's legal friend. It's a very, very cringy time. Cringy, very, very cringy, very, very embarrassing. And he overreacted. That's the situation. And he's at fault. Brandon Schaub at fault. And I want to mention throughout this timeline that I mentioned from the first podcast until in his podcast, in Brandon Schaub podcast, until Flagrant and whatnot, Brandon Schaub did not ever once apologize to Bobby Lee. He did not apologize to Kelela. That's the thing that I noticed on several podcasts that he went on. He never apologized. Now, the solution to this is very simple. Before we end, I will bring up another issue he brought up, which is a bullshit issue. Okay. The simple solution to all of this, like I said, it's come from one topic. You try to seduce Bobby's Lee girlfriend. You try to seduce Kelela, asking her to cheat with him, and the thing is, she doesn't accept it. It's not a simple issue, so she wants an apology, but she doesn't say it. She doesn't say it because she wants to reveal to everybody that Brandon Schaub completely doesn't get it. Brandon Schaub doesn't see it that way. Like, he doesn't do anything wrong. So that's why the solution for Brandon Schaub is to openly apologize to Bobby Lee and apologize to Kelela on the issue of not just bullying Bobby, but apologize on, yes, I'm sorry, I cheated. I tried to seduce your girlfriend, and I asked her to cheat on you. That's all. It's the most hardest thing for a guy to do. And I get it. Brandon is not old yet. He's not mature, even though he's 37. But it's a very scary thing to openly admit that to the world that you cheat and you are a cheater because he's married, and you want somebody's wife to cheat on you, cheat on her, on the company. You know what? Most guys have done this kind of crazy thing, cheating with somebody who's married or somebody's girlfriend. A lot of guys do it, and nobody realizing that they are not mature during that time would want to apologize to all of those people, much more openly and publicly on a YouTube or a podcast to the world. So it's a very shameful thing for Brandon Schaub to do that. That's why he created another topic, which is, I said, the most useless bullshit topic. But before we go to that topic, that is the origin of this situation. It's just a simple apology, simple admission that you did say all of these things to Kelela and Bobby. You tried to cheat on him. You tried to seduce his girlfriend. I know Malay culture or Pinoy culture are very close, very very patriarchy roots. Even though Indonesia is a matriarchal system juga, but The strength is you coming to seduce somebody's girlfriend or even sister or wife, even more. Those kind of things are very taboo. It's very taboo in our Southeast Asian culture. It's very taboo. That's why when you know it's taboo, people make focus on it. That's why in Philippines cinema, which is more open, you have a lot of films that their culture focus on the affair story. If you see in Philippines, most of the movies, a lot of the movies, not all, a lot of the movies have adultery as theme because it's very taboo. And when you have taboo topics, because it's taboo in the society, very sensitive, but people are interested in their watching taboo stories. So that's why they have a lot of that kind of approach in their society. So it's very sensitive. So you have all this kind of argument because, like I said, Kalela is a very strong Asian woman. She has that root. Even at one time during that podcast, she bring up, my family has tough guys. She comes from a tough family life in Philippines. She has family who've been to prison. Kind of thing. That means that she's angry at Brandon. I'm sorry. She's angry at Brandon and all these people for asking him for the taboo thing, to ask her to cheat on Bobby Lee. It's very insulting for her, and that's it. All she wants, even though she doesn't say it, all she wants is an apology, an open apology from Brandon to apologize to Bobby and her. Now, I understand why Brandon doesn't want it, doesn't want to apologize, because he's an alpha. His group of people, him, Brian Callen, and Mark, they are regulars on his podcast. They are all alpha. They are all very big built muscle, former MMA. They consider themselves a very alpha male. So they are very that kind of people. They won't apologize one. They are very that kind of person. They never apologize. It's hard for them to apologize to a better guy like Bobby. It really is difficult for him, So he created, to get out from that, to get out from apologizing to Kalela about hitting on her, he created this bullshit story about Reddit. Now he claims that he's angry at Bobby not because of Kalela. He's claiming he's angry at Bobby because there is a Reddit, Tiger Belly Reddit page, which Tiger Belly is a podcast that owns, that Bobby Lee's podcast. And on the Reddit page, there was some child abuse and whatnot. Now, those posted attacking Brandon. Brandon claimed there is even a child abuse video and storyline inside that Reddit. That's what Kalela brought up the issue, but Kalela didn't clear it up for audience. A lot of our audience are just as dumb as Brandon. Okay, Kalela say, ask Brandon Schaub, because Brandon went on to the podcast, on Bobby podcast, besides listening to the attack, mentioned about this Reddit page, that somebody is abusing children on his page. So Brandon and Kalela, Brandon is not IT articulate at all. So it couldn't be him. Plus, Kalela asked, do you know how Reddit works? And Kalela asked the right question. Do you know how Reddit works, to Brandon? Now, just to explain to all of you, if somebody created that Reddit page, it's not owned by Bobby Lee. There's a lot of Reddit pages that is opened by fans. Has nothing to do with the podcast or artist celebrity. They are built up by fans. That is Reddit. Nobody owns anybody. Nobody owns a Reddit page. No celebrity owns a Reddit page. Reddit pages are created by fans. That's what Brandon didn't get. So anything that is posted on Reddit page is posted by anybody else. It's like anybody can post on Reddit. It's not owned by anybody. So Brandon Schaub created this story to frame Bobby Lee, to frame that he is this mastermind and he's talking about child abuse and whatnot on the Reddit page. That's why a lot of people got that information got lost because Brandon Schaub is a dummy. He doesn't know how it works. So on the Kalela podcast, they want to make it clear to Brandon, show us the proof. Show us the proof that you're saying that we put all these kind of abuses on that Reddit page. And Brandon keeps saying, oh, I know I connected to people who are doing the investigation. The case is still under investigation. And that's why I said Brandon Schaub is a stupid person. Because he said this is under investigation. If you say that thing under investigation by the police or by the FBI, so Kalela asks, are you serious? Who's investigating? Oh, it's not the police. It's not the Fed. He hired an investigator. That is not official. So because if you claim that we did it, show us the evidence or put the evidence to the FBI. And on that podcast, he did not reveal it. That's why it's a bullshit thing. He did not reveal that Bobby Lee is the one putting this child abuse stuff on the Reddit. That's why Kalela asked, do you know how Reddit works? Reddit doesn't come from the name Tiger Belly podcast, Tiger Belly Reddit is not owned by anybody. Anybody can post there. Anybody can post on Reddit. That's why Kalela asked, show us the proof. Do you understand how Reddit works? So to accuse Bob, anybody can put a lot of bad things on a Reddit page. It's not the person. And of course, the Brandon said, okay, maybe it's not you, maybe it's your team on the podcast. Okay. So they asked to see the email, to compare to the company's email, to the Tiger Belly email, to the Bobby Lee email. Is it our email? Is it our company's email? Brandon did not reveal. Because it's a bullshit thing. Anybody can post anything on Reddit page. If it doesn't belong to anything. Okay, that's why I'm saying Brandon Schaub is just bullshitting through all this accusation because he does not want to apologize to Bobby Lee. Can you imagine? You go to this guy's house. That's why Bobby Lee, I understand how his mind thinking. He's thinking like this. This guy come to my place. He tried to hit on my wife, on my girlfriend, Kalela. He comes to my house. He doesn't even feel a bit of remorse about hitting on Kalela. But he's angry because Kalela revealed he tried to seduce her. That's what he angry about. But he comes on Bobby Lee, in front of Bobby Lee. He never mentioned that. I'm sorry I hit on your wife. That's why I think Bobby Lee is thinking this guy completely doesn't think is wrong, has the audacity to create something else, to skip from apologizing to Bobby. And it's still not over. I think after this, I think Tim Dillon, everybody's waiting for Tim Dillon to comment. Tim Dillon is another comedian, also introduced by Joe Rogan, but he's very neutral. So he's going to come out on his own podcast to talk about this more. He talked about it previously, but he's coming back to America. He was in Australia during that time. So this is the drama that you are seeing in the LA comedy world. The most insane drama. You might wonder why Brandon Schaub is feeling this way, and why Brian Cullen, Mark, and a lot of comedians is like all the male comedians like supporting Brandon Schaub. A lot of people doesn't know that Brandon Schaub is a rich guy. He's a rich guy. His family is rich. A lot of the comedians, they come from rich families. Like Chris D'Elia, rich family. A lot of them, a lot of his circle are from rich people. Brian Callen is also rich family. This is Hollywood gatekeeping at the finest. So they are like their special club, you know. And Brandon Schaub is really rich, but his family is very rich. That's why they want to kowtow to him. That's why when I see he talk to poor, he knows they are poor, he can talk very down on them. He talked to Theo Von. He got if you watch Theo Von, he's also a comedian in America. He's come from a poor background. Theo Von comes from a southern place in America. He's not rich like these people. So he invited Theo to be on this podcast. They have a Theo, and Theo has been reluctant for a bit because they like to bully on Theo. They always pick up on Theo because Theo is poor. Chris D'Elia, that podcast have Brian Shaw, Chris D'Elia, and another guy, Craig or something. They always always like to pick on Theo because Theo Von from a poor family. You can see it. I mean, I'm not joking. You can go to YouTube and look at their video on YouTube. That's why I think people are advising Theo to not be on that podcast because the habit of these people, they like to bully. They like to bully on poor people, on people that beneath them. So if you, especially on the fighter and the kid, they have this black guy called Chappelle. He moved out. He decided to no longer be on that podcast because when he is on the podcast, Brian Callen especially likes to pick on Chappelle. They make fun of him. I mean, Brian, if you follow his comedy or follow his podcast, he tries to talk like he's not negative, but the way he say them there's a word for it, but trying to attack someone by overpraising them. Oh, I think you are great. I think you are great. That kind of attitude. So the one time they mentioned Chappelle guitar collection, they made fun of him, his guitar collection. They really brought it up. Brian always bring it up. Like he has a guitar collection, $5,000 guitar collection. These are rich people. These are rich people making fun of Chappelle, who have a hobby of music. He has a music hobby. He have a guitar collection. So when he mentioned they have a $5,000 guitar collection, something like that they made fun of it. You know, like, you're a poor guy. They didn't say this openly, but they say it in a subtle way that I think Chappelle got it. They're saying, you're a poor guy and you waste your money on guitar, $5,000 of guitar. Because for them, that's stupid for a poor guy to do. Chappelle, after that, decided to move to another podcast. Because Brian has that kind of attitude. He likes to bring up other people's weaknesses. He brought up another thing that he brought up from Chappelle is a comedian now, but Chappelle was a valet. Valet, you know, valet are people who park your cars at hotels. If you go to a rich hotel, there are people you can pay because they will park your car for them, for you. So Chappelle used to be a valet. So valet is low income. And when Brian will always bring it up, you know, but in a way, not praising, but in a way you put people down. Like, oh, I respect you because you come so far from being a valet. Now you are doing big things. That's kind of praising is actually insulting because you bring up uh, his maybe he doesn't want people to remember that he's a valet. Bringing out his guitar collection, his hobby, his past valet. That really hurts people, and Brian doesn't get it. Brian Callen doesn't get it, and he keeps bringing it up. I think that's why these people are not healthy. That happened also with Theo Von. They like to pick on him because he's from a poor background. I tell you, Brandon Schaub and Chris D'Elia and Craig. They like to pick on Theo because a lot. I tell you, they will not dare to pick on Joe Rogan. The only guy in this Hollywood comedy scene that have the balls to pick on Joe Rogan is Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon pick on Joe Rogan like nobody business, and he knows. I want to pick on Joe Rogan. He pick on Joe Rogan. Pick means he can make fun of Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's fine with it. And Joe Rogan doesn't care. Joe Rogan is not involved with this at all. But people use his name. And people have this kind of mentality that I'm rich, poor. That's why Joe Rogan can see through it. He can see those people who are trying to fan him, the rich people, and then the poor. He knows everything. He meets a variety of people. That reflects on Joe. Okay? But in this story, this guy, Brandon Schaub, they from a rich people, they do that. And then another issue that I have to bring it up, that Brandon did with there's this girl called Kat. Called Kat. Kat is one of the producing team. And Kat is a girl, I think a Korean American girl on the podcast. Now she has an OnlyFans. And I know OnlyFans is a big secret, open secret that a lot of people hide their OnlyFans because it's a very kind of sex work, even though people can accept it, but some people just want to hide their OnlyFans. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's not out openly. So this girl, Kat, has an open OnlyFans, and they bring it up. They make it known to the world. Kat has a OnlyFans, and Brian also. Oh yeah. How's your OnlyFans? And I know because you Asian, Kat is Asian. It's a very taboo kind of thing. And Kat doesn't openly, she doesn't openly even on her when she hosting the podcast. It's not something that she will flaunt. It's a side income. Over nowadays people do it openly, but still a level of taboo is there, so she hides it. So Brian and Brandon like to bring it up because you know why? It's making fun, they want to bring it up. Like he said, bringing up valet, because they rich people always look down on poor people, especially people doing OnlyFans. They look down on these people because it's sex work. It's poor people trying to make a living. So poor people trying to earn a living, they look nice, they have a nice body, they do OnlyFans. I don't agree with that, but I will not shame openly in the world that you have OnlyFans. So I disagree completely with it, but I will not shame a person because I know it's very shameful. So Chappelle has left. I know why, because of this kind of bullying lah. Rich people picking on poor people, bringing up his past as a valet. And then they bring up Kat. Kat is a wonderful producing team. During the podcast, she's fantastic. But when they started to bring up her OnlyFans, it's very embarrassing to a girl, It's very embarrassing. Maybe she doesn't want a lot. She knows that she has a few clients on OnlyFans. Let her be. She doesn't want the world to know. Now she left. She's one of the best producing hosts. Now she left. That's the situation that a lot of people doesn't get. this kind of group of people, very rich group of people, they only hang out with rich people. They only respect rich people. They will never pick on Joe Rogan or bring up small things about Joe Rogan. They will never bring up bad things about Joe Rogan. But they will bring up people lower than them. Bring up negative things about lower than them, like sex work, being a valet. It's so sad. And when somebody he has a music hobby, he has a guitar collection, they bring it up, his guitar collection, and trying to make. They're very smart, no. They don't accuse, oh, look at this black guy, so stupid, buying guitar worth 5,000 when he's so poor. No, they're right to bring it up. To shame him, to say like that. But the way they say it, wow, Chappelle, you have a 5,000 guitar collection. Do you think you're afraid people want to steal it? They keep bringing it up, and I can see it. If you see the videos, you can see Chappelle's face when they bring it up. It is uncomfortable, He doesn't want people to bring focus on that. That's the whole drama of this group. This kind of Brandon Schaub kind of mentality. Like I said, he never apologized to Bobby Lee or Kalela. Never on this saga. So I just want to create this video to talk about this. I know a very niche topic, but a lot of people want to catch up without opening too many videos. That's it. That's my reason for doing this. Okay, sorry for a long-winded thing, but I just want to get things off my chest. And on the topic that I enjoy watching podcasts by Joe Rogan and all of these people. But when you hear this kind of drama, you have to comment something. I commented on Mark's approach. Thankfully, Mark is a very open-minded person. He commented back. He asked back. But I just made it known to him. I replied back to him. I said, no, bullying is this. This is rich people picking up on poor people, big people picking up on small people, handsome people picking on ugly people. That's bullying. But that's the drama. So thank you guys for your time. Hopefully you learn something positive and negative. Hopefully not negative, but something about this situation. Peace.